This is the podcast
of stuff.
Welcome to the podcast, everybody. Not a full podcast today, just a quick, short, mini podcast to talk quickly about Wrestlemania. There's going to be some spoilers here, so if you're from the UK like me, and you didn't manage to stay up until what seemed like about 4 days, but around about 5 a.m. in the morning, then you may not know these results. So if you don't know the results, go back and watch Wrestlemania first, if you feel the need to. Just quickly going to talk about it. This is Gaz. I'm not with Wayne today. We'll be doing a full podcast tomorrow, so keep an eye out for that. Just quickly to go through the main card and what we saw last night. I've got to say I'm not a massive fan of this WrestleMania. There were some great moments, which I really enjoyed. And as I said, me and Wayne will go into detail on it tomorrow. But looking at it now, we started off with the Intercontinental ladder match, which ended up in a bit of a shock. So again, spoilers here, this is the last warning. Zack Ryder, who was inserted in the match on Raw, I believe, actually walked away with the win. I think Wayne and I picked Sami Zayn. As you'll find out all the way through this, if you listen to the prediction show, we basically didn't get any predictions right, with the exception of the main event, which is the one we wanted to be wrong. But Zack Ryder ends up winning the belt. I'm curious what they do. They had his dad celebrating in the ring at the end. Some good spots in the match. A nice little touch from Stardust with the polka dots on his suit, and then the ladder with polka dots. That's a tribute to his dad, obviously, Dusty Rhodes. That was the standout moment for me. There were some fantastic moments, some great high-flying moves. Don't want to go too much into them. As I said, me and Wayne will cover it off in a bit more detail tomorrow. But for that match, it's a good start. It's a replacement for the old Money in the Bank match. Gives us the same sort of excitement. Let's just hope now that Zack Ryder's not made a joke with his title as he has been in the past. Let's give him a run if we're going to give him a run. Reward him for his hard work. It's a good match to start off with. Second match on the main card, the one I think everyone was really looking forward to, AJ and Chris Jericho. I did really enjoy this match. I don't think it's the classic a lot of people thought maybe it could be, but it was a very good WrestleMania match. A little bit strange with the finish. Also, I'm not too sure what the situation is with the Styles Clash, AJ's big move. AJ's obviously hit that big move last night. It was teased. He doesn't get to hit it very often from when I've seen him wrestle. He hit it on Jericho, only got a 2 count. So they seem to be diminishing the importance of the Styles Clash, and it's not the best thing, I don't think. But nonetheless, Jericho gets the win. So you would think now that they go on from here and they continue. That was their 4th match, I believe, at WrestleMania. If the matches are good, we can keep watching them, but obviously they're going to have to tweak the story a little now because it seemed like it was all set up for AJ to win. Both Wayne and I picked AJ, and of course Jericho's come out with the win. So again, we got that one wrong. We went then to the Tag Champions New Day, against the League of Nations in a 6-man match. I was under the impression, I don't know if it's because they inducted the Freebirds at the Hall of Fame, that in this situation, all 3 of New Day were defending the title. I don't think that was the case. It's a 6-man match, and what happened is the League of Nations actually got the win. I think had we known it wasn't for the title, we may have been able to go from there. I'm not sure what they do with that now, whether they have, a couple of people from the League of Nations go after the title. Probably the best match, though, the best part, was in the post-match. The League of Nations is celebrating in the ring. Wade Barrett took the mic, started to give some to the crowd. Started to get the impression that something was going to happen. Maybe New Day were going to come back, get back at the League of Nations, get some shine as they lost the match. Barrett basically said no 3-man unit in history could match them. First thing that happened, and as a big fan of this man myself, I obviously got out of my chair a little, Shawn Michaels' music played. He came down. The crowd went a bit crazy for that. As he got there, Cactus Jack then came down, Mick Foley, which was a great moment too. And then finally Stone Cold Steve Austin, obviously in Texas. Massive pop. You really don't get pops like you get for Austin anymore. Absolutely huge. Attitude Era pop, almost, it seemed like. I should point out we've only watched WrestleMania once as well, so, you know, some opinions may change tomorrow, but this is just how I see it at the moment. The next match then, we had Brock Lesnar and Dean Ambrose. No holds barred street fight match. A little strange, I thought. Ambrose, who's been assembling that sort of little red cart full of weapons over the past few weeks, walked to the ring without it. Obviously didn't want to start the match with those weapons. A little bit of a strange decision, but okay, you know, if they're going to get the weapons, we know they're going to do that. And that is weapons, not toys. Then it was okay. It was a decent enough match, I thought. A little bit disjointed. Obviously, when Brock wrestles, it's a certain style, you know. He's going to take you to Suplex City, basically. So he threw Ambrose around. Ambrose, you know, kept coming for him, as was the story. A little bit upset at the finish. Dean did some great things. He caused Brock a lot of problems. You know, he looked good for a while. Less than quarter of an hour though, Lesnar, it's an F5 on Ambrose onto some chairs. Gets the win. Yeah, I'm not really sure where they go. I mean, is Brock after the title now? What happens to Dean? I know most people expected Lesnar to win. We went Ambrose thinking that they would be brave enough to do it. That obviously doesn't seem to be the case, unfortunately. When we came back then, you know, there were a few video packages in between. One important part, which is Lita, who'd been on the WrestleMania pre-show. Lita actually came out and announced that, from what we can tell, they're scrapping the Divas title and we're having a WWE Women's title again now. This is something that Wayne and I have talked about bringing this back, treating them like women, not divas. I think they've earned that kind of spot now, you know. They're no longer just an attraction to look at. They're talking about some talented women here. So they announced that the winner of the, you know, so-called Divas match later in the show would be the women's champion, which was a great moment. So we then went back to the arena and we got the match. We got Charlotte versus Sasha versus Becky Lynch. I really liked this. I thought at this point it was the best match so far in WrestleMania. There were some spots which they didn't get absolutely right. It was a very brave attempt. You know, the beginning of the match, they were trading moves, almost as if they were in the Matrix. It was great to watch. They really went for it. You'll forgive them the odd little slip here and there for the bravery that they showed. Now, I'd gone in predicting Sasha Banks would win this. Wayne did as well. We pretty much knew Becky wasn't winning, but it was Charlotte who ended up getting the win. Really good match, as I say. We'll go into detail on the match tomorrow, but I did really enjoy it, and I know that the finish seemed, you know, a letdown to a lot of people who were there to see Sasha win the title. But I didn't have too much of a problem with it, and if we just get Charlotte and Sasha now, Sasha obviously didn't lose the match, then, you know, I'm happy to see that for a few months, and hopefully we'll get some good matches out of it. Sasha's time will come. I'll be very surprised if it doesn't. You know, Snoop actually walked into the ring. It was a good WrestleMania entrance. It was all set up for her. I loved Charlotte's entrance as well, with the Ric Flair style robe that he wore when he retired in his retirement match. So yeah, excellent match. My favourite so far on the card up to that point. After that, of course, we had the match then a lot of people were tuning in to see. That was the Undertaker versus Shane McMahon in a Hell in a Cell. Now, Undertaker was favourite, I believe, going in, although there was a bit of doubt over who would win with a lot of people because of the stipulations. If Shane won, he gained control of Raw. If Shane loses, he gave up the right to Raw, basically gave up the right to everything to Vince. If Taker lost, this was his final WrestleMania now. I think if Undertaker's going to retire, you're going to have a proper build-up. They didn't get that here. So it was a little more likely that Taker was going to win when that stipulation was added. The main fear going into this was that Shane was going to come off the top of the cell. Now, the cell, to my knowledge, is actually taller now than when Mick Foley came off it. Mick Foley famously, 1998 King of the Ring. We've talked about that before. straight through the announce table. As soon as they got outside the cell, and that involved a pair of bolt cutters, which again we'll go into in more detail tomorrow, but they got outside the cell. I actually liked the match. It's a brawl. You know that Shane's not a phenomenal wrestler. He did look in good shape. He didn't tire out, I didn't think. He was in there. You can see he's been training martial arts, that kind of thing. He had the cardio for that. But the big point from the match, Undertaker's on the announce table. Shane climbs the cell. He'd been hinting at it for the previous sort of 10 minutes. Shane climbs the cell, comes off the top. Undertaker moves Shane through the announce table. It was very uncomfortable to watch. A friend of mine and myself were watching this. We were almost asking for him not to do it. It's got to that stage now, I don't know if it's age, where you've seen too many people suffer the after effects of this kind of thing. But thankfully, there wasn't a tragedy. It seems as if underneath the table was at least padded. He's still going to have an impact, of course, from that kind of height. Shane goes through the table. Incredible spot. They end up finishing the match in the ring. Shane is still trying to fight. He's still waving the Undertaker on. I really thought this match told a good story. It's as good as you could expect when Shane doesn't wrestle full-time. Taker no longer wrestles full-time. I think this probably edged ahead purely because of Shane's risk. I mean, let's be honest. It was an incredible moment. So, do we not see Shane now? Is he not on Raw? I think that's something that's going to be answered tonight, and that's why we're holding off on the main podcast until tomorrow. We want to watch Raw. We want to see where they go and give them a chance. Next then we actually had the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, 20 men. This was originally supposed to be on the pre-show. It got bumped up by, I assume it's to be a buffer match, for the main event essentially. Before the main event, we had, as I said, we had the Battle Royal. I picked Braun Strowman to win this. Wayne had picked Kane. Kane was there till the end. Strowman wasn't even in the Battle Royal, as it turned out. They held the Wyatts out to this. Baron Corbin from NXT in less than 10 minutes ended up winning the Battle Royal. I'm curious what they do. Is Corbin coming up to the main roster now, or was it just kind of a little warning shot? But yeah, it's interesting. It's a new winner. It actually gives some kind of interest to this Battle Royal as opposed to just having, insert random big guy win it. But yeah, it was a cool moment. Then we had The Rock's appearance. Now, we didn't know why The Rock was there. We knew that this wasn't quote-unquote serious. This was going to be some kind of fan interaction. The Rock was there, as it turned out, to announce the official attendance, which I believe, I don't have it in front of me, was 101,000 and I think 793. I think 763. There we go. Okay. The Rock came out. He was interrupted by the Wyatts now. Unfortunately, for just a split second, I thought we're going to have a Rock-Wyatt feud, but yeah, that's not the case. They went back and forth talking. Rock made a little bit of fun of the Wyatts, not too much, not to make him look silly, just being The Rock. Ends up in a match, which was very, very strange. The Rock threatened to take on any one of them, essentially. And it turns out under his clothes, he had his wrestling gear on, which is incredibly well prepared from The Rock. The Wyatts, they send in Eric Rowan. Now, to me, I mean, if The Rock had offered to do that, surely that's the time to say Bray. But no, it is just a gimmick, this. Rock wins in 6 seconds. Rowan charged towards him, kick to the stomach, Rock bottom, the 3 count. It is a match, and The Rock now holds the record for the quickest win at Wrestlemania. So, yeah, a cool moment. Nice to see The Rock. One of the big stories coming out of that spot, though, is that John Cena also returned. Cena came down to help The Rock fight the Wyatts. Obviously, Cena and Rock are great buddies now. They've had a couple of matches and respect each other. That seems to be the story. But Cena's back, looking a little slim, looking a little, I wouldn't say nervous, but not looking quite John Cena yet. I don't think he's still recovered. I think it was just a way to get him on WrestleMania, remind you, he's not far away. So, it was still a pretty cool segment. I did enjoy it. It's always good to see The Rock, of course. It was good that he had an interaction with some new guys, the Wyatts, and I think he said as much later on his Facebook, but there we go. And then going into the main event, finally then, just before I wrap up here with this little short podcast, we had the World Heavyweight Championship match. A quick note on the entrances. Triple H gets an entrance where Stephanie is basically dressed up as some kind of dominatrix queen. I'm not going to pretend it wasn't wonderful to look at. She's preaching to the people, almost sort of Game of Thrones style. There's quite a few Game of Thrones references around WWE lately. They're obviously paying attention to that, but Triple H comes out, after one of his video packages, and Triple H always has a big entrance at WrestleMania, we know that. Roman then gets his entrance, nothing particularly special. He gets the fireworks and everything. To me, when he did his big sort of superhero punch to the floor, I don't think they timed the explosion correctly. Maybe I looked at it wrong. I'll watch that again. We had Roman sucks chance, which we were expecting. With the match, it's a bit of an old school championship match. Triple H, he called it, let's be honest. You can see him calling it if you know what to look for. Triple H, I thought, put in a good performance, did his best. There were some cool spots in the match. Nice to see, Reigns looking good at times, and he's still a great athlete, Roman Reigns. I don't think anybody should take that away from him. He's got his problems, but he's still a great athlete. Now, I think a lot of people here were expecting some kind of run-in from Seth Rollins. I know I mentioned that, or somebody else. Some kind of extra interference, Shawn Michaels, that became less likely when he was on the show earlier, that he would just then come back out for the main event. But we end up with Roman getting a victory, getting a clean 1-2-3, and WWE, from what I can tell, and from what I've read from people who were in the building, I did have some friends in the building as well, when Reigns won the title, the music apparently was turned up very, very loud to drown out some boos. And the word is that when WrestleMania went off the air, the boos then got very loud. So it looks as if they're pushing ahead. It looks as if they're keeping Roman as this babyface champion. Maybe Raw will change that. We'll have to see that later on. For us, it's going to be another late one. It's basically early hours of the morning here for us, which is why I sound a little rough as well. So it's just a quick WrestleMania results show, as I said. Overall, at this stage, having only seen the show once, I think I'm going to have to give it, I'd probably say a 6.5. I'm really not happy to give it more at this stage. There were some good moments. I've got to be honest, I enjoyed NXT TakeOver Dallas more. Some great matches there. And we'll go into a bit more detail about that when I talk to Wayne as well. We'll also talk about the Walking Dead finale, which I watched again in the early hours of this morning. So, incredible stuff there. I won't go too much into that now. This is just for WrestleMania. So, everybody have a good day. If you stayed up in the UK and you have to go to work today, I feel very sorry for you, but it's WrestleMania. Book ahead. That's what I do anyway. We'll be staying up for Raw tonight. We'll do a podcast tomorrow for you. It'll be a full podcast with me and Wayne. So obviously a little bit more entertaining. But thanks very much for listening, guys. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Follow us on Twitter at PodcastOfStuff. And email us at podcastofstuff001@gmail.com. Give us any opinion, anything you'd like us to talk about in the show. Hello to all our new followers. Thank you very much. Thank you for the people who have been watching our YouTube videos. It's still a small number of views. We're just trying to build. Shout out to the Pod and family on Twitter. And we'll see you tomorrow, guys, with a full podcast. Hope you enjoyed WrestleMania. If not, give it a look. Tell us what you think. Thanks, guys.